Twice in one day, I'm being bested by an amazing group of authors before the show's even gotten started. Please stick around. I really think this is going to be a good one, just based on the banter we had before the show got started. Let me introduce this week's show. Writing and publishing a book is a huge accomplishment, but it is not the finish line. Too often, authors stop there, treating the book itself as the goal instead of using it as a launch pad for what comes next. A book is not just a product on a shelf. It can be a powerful tool that builds credibility, attracts leads, and creates opportunities for speaking engagements, consulting, and even media appearances. But this only happens with a clear plan that connects the book to your business. This is the work that I do as a book launch strategist. I help entrepreneurs build launch teams filled with likely prospects and referral partners, generate 50 or more Amazon reviews, and turn their book into a business pipeline that delivers results. If you want your book to do more than gather dust, digital or otherwise, let's talk. Schedule a complimentary 30-minute book launch brainstorming session at booklaunchbrainstorm.com and discover how to align your book with your long-term goals. And now, let's meet today's panel. Alesia Jackson wrote A Stress-Free Life in a Toxic World, a practical guide of 49 high-performance tips for mind and body detox, anxiety relief, and a dream life of health and abundance, a wellness-focused guide that offers practical strategies for detoxing the mind and body, reducing anxiety, and building sustainable habits that support greater health and abundance in daily life. We also have with us today Diane Morgan, who wrote Whole Heart Social Media Success Formula, What to Say, Where to Play, How to Win, an actionable book that helps heart-centered entrepreneurs grow their online visibility with clarity, confidence, and content strategies that align with their values rather than chasing trends. And Diane DiResta wrote Knockout Presentations, How to Deliver Your Message with Power, Punch, and Pizzazz, a practical resource for speakers and professionals who want to elevate their presentation skills, engage audiences more effectively, and deliver memorable messages with confidence and impact. Please join me in welcoming Alesia, Diana, and Diane. Alesia, I'm going to kick things off with you. I want to hear more about the audience for your book that you had in mind when you started writing it. Who were the readers you hoped would pick it up? And welcome.
Thank you for that wonderful question. I wanted to reach, and I have been able to reach, fortunately, both women and men who want to build a life of abundance in all areas of their life, but they want to do it holistically. We want to get back to basics. What we mean by that is, what kind of nutrition should you be fueling your body to be able to de-stress? What are some of the practices that you need to put into place to be able to quiet your mind? What are some of the things that you need to do in terms of movement to be able to exercise your body so that you can de-stress as well? And then what are some of the things that you need to really practically do about detoxing your environment, not just from chemicals, but also from toxic people? So
Give me an
resilience.
example. If I were talking to someone and they started complaining, there's something bothering them, something they're kind of worrying about. What might they be talking about that makes me realize this would be a great book to tell them about?
Well, oftentimes the people that I work with, they'll complain about fatigue. They're just tired and they don't get a good night's rest because they're not getting restful sleep. Their sleep is disturbed. There's many reasons for that, but we have to go into a little deeper dive. They might be concerned about their gut health. They're just not feeling well. They are complaining about brain fog, or they might be having some hormone. If they're a woman, they might be complaining about hormonal imbalances. So any of those things that are often triggered by stress, which we need to reduce, and there's practical ways that we need to do that every day, but they're just unhappy about some sector of their life, whether it is their physiological, their mental, their emotional, their social, and we can tackle that holistically.
Brilliant, brilliant. Diana, let me bring you into the conversation. Tell us a little bit about your ideal reader.
Okay, my book was written, it's the sum total of 17 years of my working with people, teaching people how to use social media. And my clients, the people who I want to read this book, are people who have an amazing message. They need to reach more people, and they're really struggling with, they're the 45 plus, weren't born with a mouse in their hand. just tell me what to do in plain English. And those are my clients, primarily women and a few smart men. And, just people who are purpose driven, who really want to come from their heart and be authentic on social media, not get overwhelmed, not get, confused and bogged down by the algorithms, and really just understand social media so they can use it with ease and joy and reach their people.
And it's changing nonstop. And every time something new comes out, we all go, do I have to go on that?
It is. And I just want to address that this is an
Yeah.
evergreen book. This book is the fundamentals of really understanding how the internet works, so that whenever you pick up this book, it's going to be relevant and valid to what's happening with social media.
That's brilliant, to write a book that's less prescriptive in the details, but more how to think about it. Speaking of which, Diane, let's hear about your book. Who's it for?
I wrote knockout presentations for leaders and business professionals, for people in the workplace, because public speaking is the number one fear. And there are people who think they don't need it because they're not public speakers. And I tell them that everything is public speaking, whether you're giving a meeting update or leaving a voicemail. How you communicate your message will affect whether or not someone calls you back. So I wrote it like a seminar in a book. So they have in there exercises, principles, techniques, tips. It's very practical. And when you talk about breadth, I didn't realize it had this wide breadth, but it's been used as a textbook in colleges, and it's been read in the C-suite. So it affects everybody.
I love that. I mean, you obviously had someone in mind, but then other people realize it's useful for their position or their role, something that you hadn't considered. And this is how our marketing changes over time once a book exists. So does anyone here have more than one book? Give me a little wave if you've got more than one book. All right. So Diane, have you been a contributor to other books? Is that the?
No, I wrote an ebook called Give Fear the Finger, How to Knock Out Fear of Public Speaking. And the reason I was going like this is I don't promote it as much. It's a great New York title, but not everybody appreciates that. But I have to say, the way I came up with the title is I learned that there is an acupressure point right here. So if you press with your thumb right over here, it's supposed to relieve anxiety. So you're literally giving fear the finger. So that's how I came up with it.
So you're pressing a part of your middle finger for those who are listening. Okay, fantastic. Oh, the visual probably wasn't needed for those who are following the story there. Diana, you've got other books in your history. Tell us a little bit about that.
I do. I have a chapter in 3 other books.
Yep.
I have The Power Within, Finding Strength, Voice, and Vision, which is sort of the beginning to my next book, my own solo book. I did a chapter on how to grow your leader identity online through social media. And that was sort of like the beginning to my social media book. And then a long time ago, I did a Blogging Success with Ease books chapter.
So I'm curious, Diana, just stick with you for a second. About your experience being part of those collaborative books. I think that they could be really great. They could be useful to get you mentally thinking of yourself as a writer. There's probably things you pick up about the process of publishing that will help you as an author for your solo project. I also know sometimes people go into those with very high expectations. So what would you share for people who are evaluating whether joining a collaborative project makes sense and how it could be a bridge to being a solo author?
Okay, I'll try to keep it short. It's a really good experience, especially for somebody who's never written a book, because then you get to say you're a published author. So that's the number one thing. The other thing it does is it takes you through all of the different steps of writing a book, which the first time I did it, I had like no idea how immense the project was. And so those are good things about it. If you are going to do a group project like that, it's really important to find a person who's really committed to really taking you through the whole process and really marketing the book, and that it's really about the group and not about the person who is compiling the book. And so that's a really big thing that I didn't know. But one of the things that I've used it for as sort of a forerunner to, like I used the one book as a forerunner to my social media book. I used the book I just was in as a forerunner to my next book. So it's sort of like, you get the momentum going and you ride the tails of that into the next book.
That's actually really smart. It also gives you a way to focus your energy around creating that initial piece of content,
Right.
get some initial feedback, see whether there's even more to the story to tell in another book. I
Right.
think
And
so
building
many-
your platform, building your platform,
attracting
just
the right
building up your
people.
social media, all of that.
I love that. Alesia, when did your book come out?
In 2024.
What was the early reception like? Did you do a big push, do a bit of a launch? Like, was it tied to other parts of your business? Like, how did you conceive of the book?
I actually utilized an organization that I was a member of to be able to help me have a big launch. And so it's very strategic that way. And that helped me get to bestseller status, on Amazon. So I think it was very, very strategic and possible. But since then, I have used other methods to be able to grow the readership, grow the experience, and grow the positive 5-star reviews. And I'm very happy with the feedback I'm receiving because I know it's helping many, many people out there.
I usually wait until later, but since you brought this up, you have 53 ratings, which is the 1 through 5 stars, and 51 of the 53 people took the time to leave you a written review.
Yes.
Which tells me that you have done a push for reviews, not just people going on leaving you 5 stars, because they can do that without buying the book and without writing anything.
That was very intentional.
Yeah. So was that something you thought about in the very beginning? It was like right out of the gate, you were trying to figure out how to get some reviews, and it's hard to do.
Of course. So I did a little bit of research, and I've, wanted to make sure that I got some reviews initially. But since then, since the book has been out for a little while, I wanted to go through another process. And so one of the things that I was able to do that I have to give kudos to you, Robbie, because I actually learned this tip from you through the last campaign that we worked on together, to be able to be very specific and to be able to reach out to people personally. And so what I have really done is to reach out to people personally via text message. Not really. I mean, I think that the email strategy works, but my success has really been one-on-one, reaching out to people personally, asking for the review, giving them the little template in terms of giving them a thought starter about, maybe some prompts, letting them know they don't have to write a whole paragraph, just 1 or 2 words, a few lines could actually work. But I ask for the 5-star review. Written is what I'm asking for. And then this particular time, my birthday is New Year's Eve. And so I tied it to a deadline. I tied it to asking for a goal. I told them, this is where I'm at right now. This is where I'm trying to get to by my birthday on New Year's Eve. It would be a wonderful birthday present for me. I think you can help me. Will you help me? And then I gave them the link directly to the page. So I just try to make things really simple and really easy, but it really was the personal ask. So now I'm at 51 written, 53 total global. My next goal, and I'm going to do the same, wash, rinse, repeat. I'm going to do the same thing, trying to get to 60, then I'm going to do to 70, then I'm going to go to 8. So my goal is to have 100. I want to grow up like you I want to be like you when I grow up, Robbie. So, I'm trying to
here's some things that I'm going to take from this conversation. Obviously, the hyper-personalization, reaching out to be one-on-one in whatever personal way you can, not a mass message, not a BCC, not an email list where there's an unsubscribe link, like as much as possible. It's a one-to-one text, a personal message, a personal email, a private message on social media. You have 18 reviews that have come in since November. So that's cool. So of the 50 some odd, 18 of them, that's a lot. And 5 just right there around your birthday in like December 28th through January 1st. And ongoing reviews, that's the key. I love this plan that you have. And actually, I want to also give kudos over here to Knockout Presentations, because you have 100 ratings and 78 written reviews, Diane. And that's incredible. And I also think this is such a good book. You all should have like 3 times that, right?
Thank you.
They're hard to get. Like, it is not easy. Any tips you would have for how you've been able to do this? And again, also ongoing reviews, like since the book has come out.
Well, longevity is one thing. My book is much older than any book here. I wrote the book. It published in 1998. We are now in the 3rd edition. And so it's been over a lifetime. And then, of course, the relaunch recently at the end of 2025 made a difference as well. But I do ask for them, but I also don't always stay on top of it. So I was glad to do a relaunch. It was time.
Yeah. Diana, because you're a marketing person amongst us, and it's something you think about a lot. When you think about the Kindle flash sale and joining that, like, how does joining the Kindle flash sale and lowering your book to 99 cents and being part of, dozens of authors cross promoting, how does that fit in with your marketing plan for the year when it relates to your book?
It's really, I can't tell you how many people I recommend it to. And I think it's just, it's an awesome program, because really what it does is it gives you the opportunity to relaunch your book like 3 times a year. And I'm listening to both Alesia and Diane, and I don't have that many reviews. And to be honest, I have put very little effort into getting reviews. And my intention for writing my book was using it as a marketing tool, as opposed to, I have not been focused on selling books. But this year, it actually leads to a program. It's a lead magnet for me too. But this year, I have decided I'm really going to focus on getting reviews. So I love I love the Kindle flash sale, because, okay, I got 3 chances this year to do it, and among way more, but it's such a great opportunity. I think that, honestly, I'm just going to say this last Kindle flash sale in December was the first time I really took the review thing seriously.
That's great.
No,
I mean,
it's
so funny. I think a lot of people who sign up for the Kindle flash sale for the first time, and Alesia, this was your first time through, so I'm curious about your response to this. They don't know what they're saying yes to. They think they're just listing their book. They're like, yeah. Well, I'll fill out the form and put my information up. And then I'm like, okay, now you have to go do all this work. Like, you've gotta like, get a list of people, and you should talk to your friends, and you should, it's not even about the campaign. It's like me saying to you, use the 2 weeks before the campaign, while your book's discounted to 99 cents, to go get 5 more reviews. How do you do that? You make a list of 25 people. Alesia, you made that happen, right? You like make a list, follow it through. And some people take to that right away. And other people at first are like, I'm just gonna do one new thing. Because I often, like, Diane, Diane, I've been teaching people how to use LinkedIn during these campaigns, how do you upload a document so I can do a carousel? You know what I mean? Like, they don't never thought of that. So I love the learning of it. I love the community of it. Alesia, what was your experience being a part of that, like being thrown in?
Well, it was honestly like drinking from a fire hose, for like that week. It was crazy, but I tried to keep up. But I don't think you really understand the impact and the value and the learnings while you're actually going through. I think you have to kind of get finished with that week and then step away, which is what I did, because the training that you provide is so good. First of all, you're just extremely organized. I'm like, I don't know how you do it. I'm like, does man ever sleep? I'm like, what? But so much teaching, so much coaching, being in the room, when I say the container, the room of other incredible authors. I got to be introduced to so many wonderful titles. I think I probably brought 11 books. I wrote 7 5-star reviews of the 11 thus far. But it's just what you can observe, what other people are doing, how they're doing it on LinkedIn, what language and verbiage they're using, what images they're putting up. It was just a 360-degree moment, so to speak, for me. And so I think that it's valuable. But what I was able to take away, just that slice of taking the tips that you provided and then putting them into action and then seeing the results, that was everything for me.
And I will add to that.
I want to hear
what
that.
I learned from that is the importance of systems and the importance of collaboration. There's so much power in community, and it's very hard to do it yourself. But when we worked with you, and the other thing is having a mentor. So those 3 things made such a difference, and you could see the results. You had a system. It was practical. It was simple. It was easy to follow. We were all helping each other, and it worked.
You're all so smart. And every time, I've been now doing it since November of 23. And so I've run it a number of times, 3 times a year. And so, like, it adds up, but it gets improved. And I'm going to announce it here. My next plan is to try to figure out how to use a chat GPT, load everything up so that you have one place to go to ask questions before you come to me. Like, what was the dimension? How do I upload the thing? Like, I'll load all the information. I've never done that before, where you basically train it to like answer on your behalf. But I do think that the content, the knowledge base that we've been creating, and it's not just for me, to be really clear, it's like all these amazing people who are like being really creative with whether it's the language or the imagery or the timing or how to use technology or marketing. I mean, like, that's the part that's been blowing me away. I want to go back to your books though, because Diane, Alesia, did you have something you wanted to add? Sure.
Just wanted to say that even if you're not super tech savvy, and you don't know how to do all the, I mean, like I don't know how to do all the carousels and all that kind of stuff. I did my best, and I'm probably very simple, but being able to see what's possible, to be able to create the vision, to be able to have like Hansel and Gretel, you got the little breadcrumbs that are leading you to, the possibilities. You may not know it now, but you can learn, or you can put it in the parking lot of your brain and say, oh, you know what? I want to learn that, or I like what they're doing. I think that there were certain people in the campaign that I don't know what they're some kind of a professional. I can't think of it right now, but they clearly have teams of people that are working, and they're always I didn't care about the leaderboard. I was just be happy to be in the room. I'm just going to learn I'm not trying to compete with anybody else. This is my own race. I got to do it my pace, my time. I'm here to learn. So don't sweat the small stuff. Okay, let's just focus on what you can do. And I think that attitude served me well. But I think that the vision casting that happens by being around so many wonderful authors that are more experienced than me, that have done this before, that have done multiple campaigns, I think that's the gold, to be able to mine from a situation like this.
That's beautifully said. Thank you for sharing that. Diane, I want to talk about how a book evolves over time and how you decide to create a second and then third edition. Because I think there are authors that maybe have books that are 8 years old and they don't want to talk about them anymore. They're like, oh, done. And you're like, no, it's like, it's good. Maybe it needs a little tweaks. Maybe AI came out. Maybe Zoom came out or whatever, right? So how did you decide the inflection point where it's time to make that adjustment? It is a lot of work. I think people underestimate like how much goes into that. But yeah, go share a little bit.
It might have been my first publisher who said something. I don't remember how we did the second edition. I don't know if it had to do with how long it was out there or what. But then the third edition came when I changed publishers. And I had to, make changes, and I had to pare it back, which I didn't like, but we did that. So it may be time to do it again. But it was based on the publishers coming to me and saying, let's do another edition.
But you have to also know that there's still an audience for it. I guess the point is you found a really great evergreen like message that maybe there's nuances that change over generations and decades, but it's still needed. Like, that's not going to go away. And that's probably true for a lot of books, but no one thinks of that. Like, I wrote a book about networking at conferences. That's not going away. Susan Rowan wrote a book, about how to work a room, and she had the 25th anniversary version come out, more than 5 years ago. Like that book's been doing well, and she's had it come out. So how do you, I just think too many of us are releasing books and then not keeping an eye on how they can continue to serve us. And I did love the fact that you have a book that you started working on in the late 90s, and it's still highly relevant.
It is. And to Diana's point, it was, it was evergreen. I wasn't niched. That's one of the things. I was always a generalist. And so there's a plus and a minus to that. So this is a generalist book. Anybody can read it. And the principles don't change. Where the tweaks need to come in the next edition is AI and things like that did not exist. But even without that, you just pick up that book and it helps you. It helps you in the workplace. It can help you personally as well, because I also have templates in there on how to organize your message. So, how to do Q&A. And I used to have a chapter on all the different situations, they made me take that out. So,
Well, that could be bonus content. Do you
yeah,
do they opt in to get like all those downloadable pieces? Is that
yeah,
part of?
that's an extra. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. You know, Alicia, I see you. Come on in.
I would love to actually kind of focus on what you've used this word throughout this conversation. And I think it's really, really important. And the word that you're using is evergreen. And I think that that is important because my book is evergreen as well. And health and wellness is universal. There are certain basic practices that are important, focusing on the 5 pillars of wellness are important. Your nutrition, your hydration, your movement, your sleep, your meditation, those are universal. But the thing that I wanted to point out, to Diana's point about marketing, and also what you mentioned earlier about how to use the book as a tool to serve more people, to expand your network, to be able to have legs in the business, is I am now thinking about utilizing the content, because there's the way that the book is written, there's 49 high performance tips, but they're little nuggets of wisdom so that people don't have to read it from front to back. They can pop in, to whatever's resonating to them at the time. But it's such a practical guide of specific actions and strategies and tips that they can apply immediately, that they will be able to use it as a reference. And people have told me this is, I go back to this all the time because I'm going to either need it now or I'm going to need it in the future. And I know that I have the information there, or I can actually share it with other people that are going through that journey at that particular point. But here's the point that I wanted to also fit in with. I'm now thinking about converting that content, which is valuable, into a course.
Mm-hmm.
So an online course that can be sold. I can use certain modules out of it, to sell or to give as a lead magnet. So that's the way that I've been thinking about, how does this book continue to have legs in the business to be able to continue to reach more people and to continue to serve, and it's not just one and done. So I love that aspect that you highlighted earlier.
People think that talking about reviews is my favorite topic in relation to books, but it's actually strategy. Like, the idea, everything you just said is about how do you leverage this piece of content you worked so hard to create into 17 ways to Sunday. Like, how do we make it useful? And Diana, I know you are using your book as a lead-in to an offer. So was the offer already existing? Did it come after the book came out? Like, I think there's no right way, but there may be easier ways. I don't know, but like, how do people find, like, in the book, they're reading it, they're like, yeah, and then they have to find you and they have to know you do that other stuff. So how do you bring people on that little journey so that they end up in your doorstep?
Yeah, and this kind of ties into what Diane and Alesia were saying. So for me, what I did is at the end of each chapter, I gave like 3 action steps. These are 3 things, concrete things that you can do. And then to get more, at the very end, there is a link to a $7 training that is basically a video and a workbook of a longer version of more in-depth training of those tips. And then from there, it is leading to an online course. Mm-hmm. The other thing I want to say about editions is, for me, I thought rather than multiple editions, I tied it into a website where I can make updates on my website. So I told people in the book, be sure to go to my website, get on my list so that you'll get updates of things that have changed. Because, obviously for me, no matter how evergreen you're going to make a book about social media, it's going to be, although I have to say that I did even say in the book, Facebook or whatever social media du jour exists at the time, because I was praying, but yeah, so I tied it into my website as well as to a $7 lead magnet, which ties into a product.
This is really interesting. I've seen the $7 thing before. Like, where does that come from? Like, is it just like once people have sort of opened their wallet once, are they psychologically a little more inclined to do it again?
Yeah, and it's very low risk. It's a very easy yes. And it's a way to sort of like take that next step from free. Because like I do free things all the time. And there's free tips in the back of the book. And so it was like, just take that next step.
It's so smart. I I give away so much, and I love these creative ideas. Diane, I'd love to hear what your best marketing strategy has been with your book. It's whether it's people buying it or you're giving it out, but how do you get your book in front of the right people at scale?
Well, what the number one thing was when I first launched it, the publisher gave me 3 months of PR. And that was so helpful because I ended up being in Costco magazine. I was in an airline magazine. It was Continental. Today that would be United. I was on some kind of Sky video. Someone was in the airport and saw me on the screen. I was in Gannett, so that's a lot of different newspapers. And it really made a difference. So publicity at the time, not so much now, but at that time that was huge. And I'm trying to think of, what was really helpful to me this past year, that when my book first launched, I ended up getting the spot of number 1 in meetings and presentations. And then in yours, it was 2025. I ended up number 2 in that spot. And unlike you, Alesia, I loved the leaderboard. It reminded me of golf. You see the leaderboard, but at first it was, what? I'm not even making this leaderboard. And it spurred me on to be a little competitive. And then I got on and then I got up higher and it was exciting. So all of these things help.
By the way, I want to explain to those listening in what the leaderboard is. During the campaign, it's the Kindle Flash Sale is a 4-day campaign that happens 3 times a year. And each day of the campaign, I send an email to the authors and I'm keeping track of who is clicking their unique link, their partner link that they share to guide people to the page where all the books are listed as in discount. And if you get 100 clicks, 100 unique clicks, you get on the leaderboard. So I think that every one of us knows 100 people that could click. Like it's not bots, actual people, please. But a lot of it has to be personalized. Not all of us have big lists. A lot of that I've gone through and just texted people from a year ago. I'll go to my phone, I'll scroll back 12 months ago and just start reaching out to people. Whenever I have downtime, I'll just receive, oh yeah, this person might be interested. And I'll just paste them a little quick message like, oh, hey, this thing's happening. So there's lots of ways to get there. It doesn't have to mean that you have a big email list, but I'm hoping that it is having, Diane, the kind of response you had, which is like, oh, I could do more. And it's amazing when you turn that on, way more can happen. You know what I mean? You're like, I've tried to put a little more effort in, and the outsized response is that a lot of people start showing up. What I love is that we're not promoting ourselves in that moment.
Right.
It's such a rare thing to be yelling from the rooftops about something that's not just me. So that's really different. And I think can help us, get out of our own way and talk about it. So Diane, was there anything in particular you did that managed to get you onto the leaderboard? Like any tips or tricks?
I'm trying to remember how I did it. It was my competitive juices at that moment. It's like, wait, why aren't I on this board? And I guess I tried harder. I don't know.
Yeah. I go through all this effort. I'm like, there are people who have very few or none and less than 20. I send them all a little message like, hey, what's going on? Are you using the wrong link? Do you need any help? Is something happening in your life? Alesia, it is a lot. It's a very intense behind the scenes because it's almost all manually done. There is nothing. The clicks are tracked, but getting them onto a spreadsheet so I can tell people what their numbers are, all of that stuff is manually done. But I want to just encourage people to kind of push themselves and they'll take something new from it each time. I'd love to hear, Alesia, about how you're bringing people from your book to your business. Is there opt-ins in the book, or is, you're thinking about this being a course? Are people opting in, getting on a list? Do you know the people who you might be able to talk to about doing a pilot program? How does that working for you?
Well, one of the things that I'm doing in networking groups that I attend the meetings and strategy sessions is I always talk about the book. And I actually have, you can't see it, but my business card is actually a bookmark. It's a 2-sided bookmark, and it's so it's a long bookmark. It's a, beautiful visually crafted piece of art, so to speak. But it's got on the one side, it's about my book, the paperback, that person, if they want an autographed copy, the only way they can get the autographed copy is that they have to go to my website, and the QR code is there for them to go directly to my website. There they can learn about my coaching program, my wellness boot camp that's occurring in February on the 23rd through the 27th online. But that's the way that they can actually be connected to me. If they go on Amazon and the audiobook is on the other side, a QR code to my AweSound platform, which is my personal audiobook store. And they get a free chapter gift that I'm giving them of 30 minutes of 4 of the episodes that I recorded. I've recorded all 49, 12 hours worth of, content. But that's the way for them to be able to have a connection to me. However, I do let people know that if you are on Audible, you have Audible, it's on all 3 platforms on Amazon. It's on the paperback, the Kindle, and then it's in Barnes & Noble and 47 countries around the world. The audiobook is there. It's on all the audiobooks and Apple and all that stuff. But that's the way that I'm actually having that one-to-one connection with people about the book. And then we can have a further conversation. The book is also a way for me to actually create curiosity and interest. When people find out that you're an author, when you're having a conversation, they may not necessarily want to talk with you about you being a coach, but when you talk about the fact that you are actually an author and you have a book and you talk about the title and it's very interesting, and then they want to talk, about it. So then I can invite them to an event. Then I can invite them to something else. And that's really the power of being an author. What the book can do for you. And that's what you talk about all the time.
Yeah, actually, Diana, I want to bring that kind of question to you. This is share a success story, answer the prompt, because I'm an author. I want to know like any doors that have opened, any opportunities, because I'm an author.
Did you say Diane or Diana?
I'll do Diana this time.
Diana.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can say I really feel that because I'm an author, I got an opportunity to speak to an organization that picks 7 out of like 400 people for a 30-minute solo presentation this past year in October. And, just that's definitely a success story. And I would say, the amount of opportunities that come to me for speaking opportunities, for people referring me who don't really even know me that well, but they'll refer me. The credibility is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And just, I refer to my book constantly. Like Alesia, I bring it everywhere I go. Whenever I speak, I hold it up on the Zoom camera, and you can't see this if you're listening, but I got it right behind me. And, the amount of credibility that it brings is really astronomical.
I was talking to someone today, and they know that I work with authors, but then I said something about, like in one of my books, they're like, "You wrote a book?" I'm like, 4. They're like, "What?" Like, I hadn't gotten that response in a while because I hang out with a bunch of authors. It reminded me, like, that's not the usual. Diane, I'd love to hear your response to the because
I wanted to underscore what both Diana and Alesia said. This is the best credibility booster that I can think of. Even when you have PR, if you have a book, you have substance. You are considered as an expert. If you want thought leadership, write a book. It's so respected. I always say that the number one source of respect is the book, and number 2 is speaking, if you want to have expertise. But I think the book is even more. You know how they say the pen is mightier than the sword?
Yeah.
In a way that is true. And it's gotten me speaking engagements. If I did seminars, I would include the book as part of the package. I have that slide on every presentation I give. I end and my book is there. I invite people to go to my website. If you want to do media interviews or podcasts, a book will help you get there. It's harder to do if you don't have a book,
Right?
Because it screams expert. So I would encourage everyone to write a book.
That's great advice. I'm going to go over to Diana. And Diana, I'm going to frame this question slightly differently, which is, what advice would you give someone writing a book that they are specifically doing to grow their business?
For Diana?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to answer that. But first, I want to say one last thing about the other question, which is not only credibility, but confidence.
Mm.
It gives you a level of confidence in your own expertise. It solidifies that you know what you know. And that gives you the confidence to go after opportunities that you may not have gone after.
Which is actually advice, because I think in the writing of a book is how you realize how much you know, and you also test every assumption before you put it down on paper, because you hear a statistic that you knew and you're like, well, where'd that come from? And you start digging, or a quote
Right.
you've heard, and you're like chasing the internet trying to find the source for something, but yes, you get very solid in your knowledge base around this piece of content because
Right.
of the effort of this book. But yes, well, then you're like, I can talk about, well, then getting on stage is not hard. Like, you're not afraid
Right.
someone's gonna ask a question that you're not gonna answer because you're like, I know this piece of content. Yeah.
Well, right.
What else can you
And
share?
I would say I have the two biggest pieces of advice that I can give. One, which I've already said, is, write evergreen content. Because if you make your content super dated, then, a year later, you're going to be like, well, I feel kind of weird marketing it, or I have to rewrite it or do another edition or all that. So make your content evergreen. And then the other thing is, and this is super important, and I'm speaking from my inner geek as a marketing expert right now, write with the end in sight. What do I want this book? What's the next step? For anyone who reads this book, what is the next thing I want them to do? And then start from there and then go back to the beginning and fill in the blanks. Because, like you heard me say already, my goal in the beginning, and honestly still, is not to sell books. My goal, and anybody whose goal is to sell books, good luck with that.
It's not, yeah, that's not it.
What?
That's not it at all. That's right.
But my goal was, if you're building credibility, if you want more confidence, if you're writing it to grow your business or to grow your consulting firm or whatever it is, write with the end in sight. What do you want the person to do next that reads that book?
Alesia, I'll come to you in one sec, but I just want to share that I have added a new offer. I now have a bookend offer because I want to be funny and like that. So I have all my book launch stuff and the strategies related to that. But my new offer is a small group program called the Author ROI Lab, where people who have an idea for a book can come and work together in small groups over 8 weeks, basically creating a plan that helps them test with actual potential readers, not AI, not just me, but to talk to people and figure out if the book they're planning to write is a book worth writing, and worth writing in all kinds of ways, including the revenue potential of the next steps, so that they leave with that plan. And then I'm not a writing coach, I'm not a developmental editor, I'm not a hybrid publisher. So I actually feel like, because I'm agnostic about whether you have a book in you that's worth writing. You could have a book in you that you might want to write, but it may not be a book that's going to actually get your business going. So that's the piece I want to focus on. And people who have that fine-tuned up front, everything you're saying, Diana, go into the writing process much more excited, willing to invest the money and the time and the effort to get a really great product because they know what's on the other side. And the people who don't have that, I just think you can float around and not get to the finish line. Alesia, let's bring you in.
Well,
before
before I hop in on what I wanted to say, to piggyback on what Diana said, it was a very good point. I want to make sure that I, kind of illuminate something that she said, give her an amen, sister. But Robbie, I think that is gold. What your plan, what you're thinking about, because what I love about it is that you give the potential author real beta testing at the time, and like real time research, to test the market, so to speak, with potential readers. Is this a topic that's gonna land, or is it kind of like meh? So I think that's wonderful. And 8 weeks is a really good period of time. That's enough time to be able to determine whether, or maybe the feedback that you get in the group is, I like your idea, but maybe tweak it. And maybe there's a nuance inside of the category that you might want to explore a little bit more. So I think, honey,
It's a great idea.
2026 is going to be another banner year for Robbie Samuels. Okay, so now I want to be able to say, Diana, your point about evergreen, we talked about that, but the begin with the end in mind part is gold, because one of the things that I did for my book is I seeded in the conclusion, I introduced the reader to another platform that I'm expanding into sports nutrition and sports performance. And the trademark that I have, the athletic cycle, is really all about 4 key things for optimal performance that every athlete, every person really, but people love to track sports and athletes and what they're doing and that kind of thing, which has 4 different components, which are: how do you feel your body, performance, recovery, which most people don't pay attention to, and recharge, which is your mental mindset. And so I introduced the concept, introduced the trademark in the conclusion, and then provided them with a way to be able to check and stay connected with me. And my next book, okay, is going to probably be a compilation book where I'll invite other sports professionals and people in the sports world to be able to share their wisdom, and something like that. So
when you do this, Alesia, we should have a conversation, because compilation books notoriously don't get reviews because you think it'll happen and they're not just organically happen. But I helped someone do that, and they had such great success. Diana,
you're on, baby. I will.
Diana, I think you had something else you wanted to add. I'll bring you back.
I just wanted to add one more thing for people who are going to be in the anthologies. Same thing. It makes me so sad to see people go to all this effort to write these chapters, because it's a lot of work. And the person who's putting the book together, here's the name of the book, still with the end in sight. Write your chapter with the end in sight. Even though it's in their anthology, you could still make it be something that is going to lead people to wherever you want to lead them for you.
Right.
I want to say something about that as well.
And then we're going to ask you how to find each other. Y'all are so full of great ideas. Diane, go for it.
I would caution people about anthologies, because the person who makes the money is the person who put the book together. So you think you're going to see your book on Amazon, but it doesn't have your picture on that. If you've never written a book, that's a good way to get started. So you could write a chapter in a book and then you can say I'm an author. But if you're serious about thought leadership and getting business from a book, anthologies won't do that for you.
Not alone, right? And even like, how do you leverage the fact that you're in one? I see most people just don't understand that process. It could be a stepping stone. It could also be a way to get waylaid off the path and be discouraged. I've seen that happen too. People are like, oh, I spent $3,000. I don't really feel like it, so it's like, you don't want someone to leave more disheartened about the process either. This is why we got to hang out with authors. You get the real deal. You get the scoop on what to look for, how to evaluate an opportunity like that. Because it's not a yes or no. It's about evaluating for what you need it to be and going in clear-eyed and having the right expectations and knowing the work you're going to put into it. Diane, how can people find you and follow your work?
Did you say Diane?
I did.
You can go to my website, DiResta.com, DIRESTA.com, or knockoutpresentations.com.
Fantastic. By the way, all these links are going to be in the show notes at bizbookpubhub.com. I have links to the socials and websites and books. Diana, how can people find you and follow your work?
You can find me at Whole Heart Marketing. That's WHOLE, heartmarketing.com.
Fantastic. And Alesia, how about you?
You can find me at Abundant Health Consulting, ABUNDANTHEALTH consulting.com.
Fantastic. All the links are going to be at bizbookpubhub.com with the show notes. And the show notes, not just from today, but from all of our episodes, hundreds. This is over 500 episodes when we release this one. So lots and lots of content there. At bizbookpubhub.com, you will also find a curated directory of experts who will support you wherever you are on your author journey, writing, publishing, marketing, all of it. Wherever you are, they're there to help you. We have free virtual networking events every single month. The Kindle flash sales, you can check those out there. So much great content. Check it out, bizbookpubhub.com. And panelists, thank you again for joining us for such
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thanks, Robbie.
Thank you so much.